for the second time in 3 years, the Minnesota Vikings start the season off on the wrong end of the spectrum, losing today 27-24 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Welcome back to another edition of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade. Nacho Leber, PA, voice of the Vikings. I'm Gabe Henderson, and I don't know how to put this game other than we gave it away, PA.
To a certain extent, the Dalvin Cook did not fumble, okay? He didn't. Now, that's my opinion. But when you are the fourth, fifth, or sixth preferred game on a network, you got like two cameras here. So if this is a different game, there are different camera angles, and I think it would have showed that Dalvin was down before they said fumble, whatever, all those penalties and everything. Greg Joseph, how about him? Big field goal to send it to overtime. We move on, man. Ain't no kicking dirt on the grave of the 2021 Minnesota Vikings off one game. Now, it was against a team that's run last in the division 2 consecutive years, but they got some nice players. And, Ben knows, man, first game of the season, it was loud down on the sideline. Yeah. Jamar Chase out there making plays. Cincinnati's not a pushover. And if you have all those penalties and make mistakes, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's the other takeaway is we say every year it rests on its own merit. And so you can't look back at the Cincinnati Bengals team from last year and be like, oh, well, we should have come in here. Yeah. That's a pretty good football team.
Yeah. I did that.
They were more physical than us. And I think that's where I'm the most upset was we thought that we had added the right pieces, specifically on the offensive line where we're much more physical. We should be more physical. A lot of those penalties, not the false starts, obviously, a lot of the holding penalties were because we weren't playing physical. They would counter move us, and we couldn't move our feet, and we couldn't punch, and so we'd have to hold. And so it looked like a little bit of a conditioning thing at the end of the second quarter and a physicality thing. And those are things that you just hope that you can rectify and fix from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, you hope you can do that, and you hope the Vikings can correct some of those penalties. PA, we were talking before, 10 accepted penalties in the first half for 96 yards, 92 yards, and then 12 penalties overall, 116. Don't want to talk about the negative too much. But you got to think the offensive line has to have a chip on their shoulder heading into Arizona next week, right?
Well, ain't nobody knocking Rashad Hill making his second start, I believe, since 2018. Yeah. But he's a backup, okay? Rashad is a well-respected player who has position flexibility and can play everywhere but center. They drafted Christian Darrisaw in the first round for a reason, so he can play left tackle. Now, he's had a groin injury. He's practicing now, but Darrisaw, I just can't wait for him to come back. After that, those penalties, Ben's dead right. When forget the fact that you're Clint Kubiak, first-year coordinator, 34 years of age. When you're 3rd and 12, at one point in the fourth quarter, our average third and distance to go was 13.8 yards throughout the game. You just, out of 10 times, you ain't going to win, but 3 of those games, we almost got one of those 3.
Yeah, and it's so hard to draw up plays when you're in 3rd and long, 2nd and long, and getting out of that was tough. But thank God we had a really good punter today that bailed us out. Special teams was phenomenal. Ryan Ficken was amazing. Special teams was amazing, and that pretty much helped our defense out in the first half and in the second half. You were talking before, only gave up 6 points in the second half.
Yeah, the defense, they had some leakage in the run game in the second half. But again, they only gave up 6 points. That should be good enough to win the game. And I'm glad that you brought up special teams because, Ryan Ficken, first-time coordinator on special teams, big game for him. And I thought his special teams played lights out. You have a kicker that goes out there in a tough spot. He really makes 2 of them because they called the timeout. So he makes the 2 clutch kicks, the one that counts. Our punting game was great. I thought Harrison Hand had an outstanding game as well. He's a player to watch out all season long as he's going to be one of those special teams guys, running down and making plays. We almost had a block punt. Yeah. The schemes seem like they're working. Now the guys just have to go out there and execute.
Well, Michael Pierce, 2 sacks too. Ooh. You just don't see that from a nose tackle coming. He has 2 already with that wiggle. It was nice.
And it was good to see Daniil Hunter get a sack also. He had 5 sacks today. The defense, I think they played pretty well. I think next week going forward, stopping a guy in Kyler Murray who had 5 overall touchdowns today, that's going to be a challenge for this defense. But Mike Zimmer's up for the challenge.
Nacho knows more about it than me, but I agree that the defense, I think they got a little tired at the end, but it was hot here first game. Kendricks was shaken on a couple of times. Hitman got shaken on once. That just doesn't happen. I guess maybe they were tired, but really Bashaud Breeland was on the wrong side of 3 or 4 things in the first half that kind of tilted the game a little bit. take that out, which you can't, but nevertheless, it's not like it was a widespread amoeba of negativity. There were just a few plays. And, oh, by the way, Joe Burrow's a Heisman Trophy Award winner. Jamar Chase, 2019, 1,700 yards, 20 TDs.
Yep.
I mean, they're good too.
Ben, final thoughts.
This was a good test for us. You know, you look at the amount of times that we shot ourselves in the foot, and the fact that we were only down 7 points at halftime.
Yeah.
That's kind of a plus.
Yeah.
We didn't get down on ourselves too much. We talk about Rashad Hill and the shaky first half he had. Pretty good second half.
Yeah.
You know, I thought the offensive line played with much more arm extension, and they played better in the second half. So you saw the team settle down and get better, and we were making plays. And I thought, you know, Kubiak executing that play up to Conklin there at the end of was that overtime or fourth quarter?
Fourth quarter.
You know, they brought two
drive.
blitzes on that. You know, back-to-back blitzes. We recognize it. He had the right play, hit him up the seam. That's a great play call. So, like, there are little wins from Kubiak, the offense, Dalvin Tomlinson and Michael Pierce up front. Those guys seem like they're the real deal. So still a lot of positives, and individually a lot of guys played well.
16-1. Let's go. Let's just win the rest of them, though. Let's go.
And that starts week 2 in Glendale, Arizona against the Arizona Cardinals. This was Between the Lines fueled by Gatorade.